Aye Queen, now me with me Chuck, Monique Sonoquie, me o me talk Chumash, Essie Yaki, Essie Apache, Essie Zapotec, Essie Irish, Ak Willits, California, Neres, Yurok. So obviously, you know my name and my tribe now, but the rest of it was that I'm actually speaking to you in Yurok because I lived on the Yurok Res for 8 years, even though I'm Chumash and Tongva from Southern California. Yurok is Northern California, and I took language lessons. And in Southern California, we don't really have a grasp of our language, but the Yurok and the Hupa, Karuk, the tribes up in Northern California where I lived, way deep in the mountains, their languages are still pretty strong. So I still introduce myself in Yurok and still kind of think Yurok lots of times when I'm trying to name animals and trees and the weather and conversations. So there I am. I'm really glad you guys are all here. And we're going to jump into it since we're starting late. So let's go with the first slide. And I should have put issues up here, technical difficulties, right? That's my biggest issue. But just talking about being on Zoom and the internet in general, you know, some of the issues that we all face. And something I've been reading about is Zoom fatigue. A lot of people, they say, are on Zoom meetings on the internet a lot more since they're working from home, because everything's a meeting and everybody wants to talk to you and everybody wants to make sure you're doing your job. So the Zoom burnout is really something that's serious and that people are facing. And you know, it's hard to focus on your work when you're stressed about or you're tired of being on Zoom. So Zoom fatigue. The other thing is not having any privacy or workspace in your house, because we're all working from home. And I'm at a friend's house with really bad internet. So and I'm locked in a back room, you know, and kids are running around outside. So again, finding your privacy is a real issue. And then constantly gazing at people and yourself on the computer is an issue, because we do a lot of, like I do a lot of conferences, but you're in a conference hall and you're looking at the speaker, not at yourself and not at all the other participants. So that's another issue that we're coming up with. And then the visual breaks. If you get up to take a break, somebody going to think you're ignoring them, because I know I'll get my feelings hurt if I'm running a Zoom and I see all these people and they just showing their name and not, you know, their image of somehow, are they really there? I know teachers are having that issue. I talked to somebody who said that they were calling random attendance in the middle of their class to make sure their kids are online. So don't make me do that to you today. But that may be something you may want to do if you're hosting a Zoom. And then distracted again by your video. And so we're going to talk about a lot of, you know, when I'm looking at Zooms, I'm seeing myself and I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? What am I wearing? Or I didn't brush my hair today, you know, when you forget you got a meeting and you jump on. So thinking about things like that. And so my new motto is don't fight it, Zoom forward and make it work for you. Okay. So even if you're having all these issues, smile and just fake it the whole way through. Okay, next slide, please. So these are some images that I picked up recently of some Zooms that I'm on, and most of them are my friends. But I just had to take pictures because it was like I'm sitting there thinking, what are they thinking? You know, they're not looking at themselves. And a lot of Zoom meetings are recorded. So I personally don't want my, you know, forehead being all people see in a Zoom meeting. So if you look on your left, that's a friend of mine. And she was not prepared for the meeting and to present, even though she knew she was presenting and we talked about it. And so the whole time she's looking down at her computer and you're seeing most of her forehead. Not a look that I want to, you know, present. The middle one, blurry. So we don't want to do that. The one to your right is a good friend of mine, and she's laying down, and it was a social meeting, a social visit with friends. But still, you want to put your best Zoom face on so people can see you're doing well. So a lot of us check in on each other too when we're on Zoom. The one to your left at the bottom, you can see on the right hand side, her son keeps sticking his head in like Zoom crashing her. What do you call it? Zoom bombing her. So that's part of having your own workspace, and you know, where nobody's going to disturb you or you're not going to disturb anybody else. You know, people can't go to the kitchen because they don't want to be in your Zoom behind you type of thing. The one next to one, the little tiny image, is a gal who was hosting, and she was by a window with blinds in them. And so her color changed and her visual changed throughout the hour-long meeting that we were on. So the next one next to her, she's using a background. And you can see the thing about backgrounds is the outline of her hair, it changes. So it's just an odd thing. If you raise your hand, you've got that white shadow in between you and your hand. So it's just not a real good look. And then the one at the bottom of the right hand is my nephew. And he doesn't normally look like that. He looks like Popeye, right? Because he had his phone and it was propped up at a certain angle. So his chest and his arms are really big and his head's really tiny. His head's really not that small. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to avoid with our presentation today. Next slide, please. So the way to do that is through planning. And first thing is when you get a call, somebody wants to meet with you, is think about, is this something I can do over the phone or email? Does it have to be a Zoom meeting? Again, if you've got the Zoom fatigue and you're in too many Zoom meetings, you want to defer to something else. So that's something to ask yourself and ask the other person. The second thing is always dress up, because you never know who's going to jump online. I've been on a Zoom meeting with, I thought it was one-on-one, and a boss comes in and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not dressed for work. So be dressed for work if it's a work meeting. If it's a conference, a lot of conferences are going online, be dressed for a conference. I like to dress up. So I'm always making sure that, I look good. And wear your pants too, because, there's a lot of joking around about you can, be in your pajamas online. But if you get up and anything could happen, the dog could drop something, your kid's screaming, could be a fire in the next room. You've got to get up. You want to make sure you've got a lower attire so that it's not a sneak peek. The next one, find ways to help you stay awake and focused. Really, really important. What works for you? Is it maybe some soft music in the background? Is it wearing headphones to focus? Figure out what it is and what you need to stay awake. And then knowing when to turn your video on and off. So lots of times we forget to turn our video on and off. So it's about paying attention. And if you've got your video on, your background noise is going to interfere with what's going on. So that's even with your phone or with your computer. And then if you're going to get up, make sure you turn your video off so it just shows your name. So we got a couple people. So I'm on my phone too. So you could just show your name, and you could also put up an image there. I haven't figured out that aspect, how to put your image up yet. And then again, strategies for keeping your hands busy. If you're a fidgeter, if you have issues focusing, what do you need? Do you need to have something in your hands? Do you need to be, drumming? Do you need to be, anything like that? So think about how to, again, your own personal needs of what you need to stay focused or to stay, busy physically, and then take breaks. And we're going to get more into each of these as we go on. So next slide, please. So preparing, that's really important. I learned after my first or second Zoom meeting to really prepare. And I mean, seriously prepare, especially if you're doing a presentation or if you're going to plan on contributing something to the meeting. So I always think about it. As soon as I get it, I try to put it on my board and I start thinking about what do I need to prepare? So 7 days earlier is really important. And then I'll practice maybe 2 days earlier, setting up the image that I want behind me and myself, think about what I'm going to wear, all those things. And then don't stress. So even before going on the Zoom, I will tell you, seriously, I stressed before a Zoom meeting. I get all sorts of symptoms, and so I put on some nice music while I'm getting ready, while I'm doing whatever I do. I've got some nice calming music. I use essential oils, so I oil myself up so I don't stress. So those things are important. Figure out what you need, and then setting up an hour prior to a meeting. So I may set up and then go do something else and come back 10 minutes before my meeting to sit down, but I know my space is all set up so I don't have to rush. And again, I've gotten stuck where I forgot about a meeting, or I forgot time got away, and I come and my hair's a mess, or I've got some weird stuff behind me. So setting up is really important. A lot of the meetings are, you know, a minimum an hour, sometimes 2 hours. If it's a conference, you're going to be there all day. So be prepared there. So I suggest like having a meal an hour, you know, 45 minutes before, and having a small snack before, so that you go on to your meeting. And then I always have my water and my snacks right in front of me. Here's my snacks. Ah. Okay. So I've got that right on the table in front of me, not necessarily reaching down. It may be a small space, but I've got it right in front of me. And then too, one of the things okay, I'm going to take a drink because that's one of the suggestions, right? Especially if you're talking a lot, make sure that you're drinking. So one of the things is that I go up into the visuals, and I'll switch from the, let's see, there we are. I will go, and just to check everybody else out, I will switch from the, let's see where it is, from no view of myself to just, you know, plain view to everybody's view and back again, just so that I don't get bored, because I get bored really easily and I get distracted. So we have that if it's going to be above you, if it's going to be below you, whatever you want to do, whatever your needs are, make sure. So let's see, I got a little carried away there. Okay, so and I've got a really weird screen because I put one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm just going to tell you now, so you don't, in case it gets distracted, is I have my phone attached to my computer. That way, because when you're talking, especially when you're presenting or if you're asking a question, I'm always looking right into the camera, right in the middle of the computer. And that's my personal preference, instead of looking down, or if I'm looking at the screen and talking to you because I see you, I like to be looked at when I'm spoken to. So I'm always making a point to look at the camera, and having my camera up on, and I actually just put it with tape on there. It's pretty funny, but it gives me that prompt, so I'm not looking down. If I need to read something, I can scroll up on my computer, and it looks more like I'm looking at you versus I'm looking someplace else. So that's one of my things. So know yourself, know your pet peeves, know what you want to do, know what makes you comfortable. And if you don't like looking at yourself, you can click it all off. If other people distract you, click it off. Oh, and so the last thing on preparing is, again, getting on the Zoom. If you're not really good at it, or somebody's not good at it, suggest that they jump on and they practice. So we had trouble getting on, even though I thought I was on a Zoom page. I don't know what happened. So I was on a Zoom, but it was someplace else in Zoom land. So, and I'd been on there for 30 minutes preparing ahead of time. So we've got those issues that come up, the technical difficulties. And then always to review any emails prior to, if you've got to read any reports, prepare yourself, because the presenter may or may not have it up on screen for you to read. So those are some things. I also, when you take notes, you can write something down on the bottom, you know, on a piece of paper, but I also have a notepad that I bring up lots of times. So, and I was going to share a screen with you. Let's see if I can pull that up. Also, a handy trick, if you want to go onto your screen, is just escape. Lots of times there's so much going on the screen. So if I hit escape, it's going to minimize my Zoom page, so I can go on to whatever it is I want to show anybody. I was just going to show you that I always put up my notes. So I am typing in notes on my computer if I'm at a meeting taking notes. So, you know, I'd be typing and I put my notes right up here. So I'm typing and I can see it. So that also helps me pay attention I actually have a low attention span. And like I said, I get distracted easy. So taking notes really helps me focus. And I kind of just do a split screen. I minimize my Zoom page, and I've got my notes on one side of my page and the Zoom on the other. So I'm able to see both when I'm typing screen. So that's really important, again, if you've got to take notes. Any questions? Any more questions? Okay, let's go to the next screen. So the next one is about you. It's all about you. If you're presenting, or even, you know, coming to the table, coming to the Zoom, being comfortable. So basics: choose clothing that's comfortable, that's simple, not distracting. So I've got this dress on. I have a real plain background. When I first got here, and you'll see this later, is the setup had this nice, oil down. Really nice poster back here, but I realized because I've got color on, I'm going to take this poster down. So that's really important to think about. Um, Again, I'm going to assume other people get distracted like I do, and distracting myself is one thing, but also other people. If I'm always, once you do filmmaking, or you work on art, or you do backgrounds and stuff, that's what you're looking at when you're on Zoom. I will admit it. So anyways, that was a little quick fix that I did right now. And then adjusting your climate, whether it's hot, cold, we're in the middle. I personally, I'm going to really put it all on the table. I'm menopausal. So I get really hot and I get really cold, and I never know which is coming or when. So I find that I have a small little fan that I use, or a small little heater that I use. I come to the table with a scarf or with a sweater. I have socks. I have ice water. I may have something warm, so that I'm really prepared. So it just depends on what you need. So knowing yourself and knowing your needs. And then the colors, colors of your clothes, again, and colors of the background. I have a real plain background, so that allows me to put more color or design on myself. If I've got a really busy background, say books or something, then it would be better for me to have more of a plain top or shirt. Another thing is too that if you're wearing a top with words on it, right? Making sure that your words are on right, or because sometimes it's the reflections, so they could be backwards. So I've been really bummed out when I was doing like a Facebook Live, and I had this really cool t-shirt with a saying, and it was all backwards. I could read it, but I don't know if anybody else could. So that's something else that you want to consider is matching what you're wearing to your background. And I will actually lay out, when I said prepare 7 to 2 days before, I'll lay out my outfit to see where my space is, or base it on my outfit. So either one, whichever works for you. And then wearing the right accessories. So lots of times, a lot of us wear glasses. And the good thing about Zoom is, you can take it and blow it up so it's your whole computer, if you're on a laptop or a desktop. If you're on your phone, that may be more issues. I really, even though it may be a little bit blurry, I choose not to use my glasses unless I really need to read something. So the thing about that is too, the glare off of the glasses. So you can see the difference of my glasses on, and the closer I come to the screen, the brighter that's going to be with the glasses. So that's your choice. So I only use the glasses. I don't come on with the glasses if I don't need them. They're only reading glasses. But unless I need to read something, I don't need to have my glasses on. So think about that. And then like your makeup. I've gone on and I don't wear a lot of makeup, but I may, use a lotion on my face, or put a foundation on. And I've got online and been really shiny because I just put on lotion on my face, or I just put on, my makeup, and it's like, not a look I want. So I always suggest put your makeup on an hour before, because a lot of us aren't wearing makeup or, doing anything because we're indoors. But if that's something you want to do, definitely do it. And again, in your attire, because we're at home, I read something a long time ago, like months ago, that dress as if you're going to work, dress as if you're going to school, because it helps the outlook of your outlook. We're stuck inside. Maybe you can't go outside. It's raining. It's here in California. We have a lot of fires, but I want to at least set the mind, get my mind thinking that I'm going to get ready and prepare for work. So you want to do those things that you would normally do to prepare for work, which is also getting dressed, putting your makeup on, or brushing your hair, that kind of stuff. And then again, keeping yourself from getting bored. If you have to doodle and write, that's fine. If you need to do it on your computer, that's fine. But you want to have it kind of high and in front of you. That way your people aren't looking at you if they're checking who's online. So when I present in public, I'm always looking at people's faces to make sure nobody's fallen asleep, to make sure what I'm saying isn't boring somebody. I'm thinking about that. Do I need to raise my voice? Do I need to change topics? Are people bored? So naturally on Zoom, that's what I'm doing also, checking to see who's online, checking to see if somebody's left the meeting, right? And thinking, do I need to reorganize? Am I stuck on one subject too much? Do I need to move on to the next topic? So things like that are really, really important. Other thing about using your phone, having your phone on too, is that's your clock. So I can look up really casually and glance up instead of having to look, across the room or pull up my phone and look down. Again, and I consider it a matter of respect. When you're talking to someone, you want to be engaged. Other words, I'm going to assume that you're bored or not interested in what I'm doing. So, so make sure again everything's in front of you, so you don't have to get up and get things right away. Next, next slide. There you go. So some of the other things that I've done, the tricks to see how my background is I use Photo Booth on my computer. Macintosh has Photo Booth, and you can go in there and you can take a photo. So that's how I determine again how my lighting is, how I'm going to look. And so you can see I've got different images up with different backgrounds. I can even look at how I'm going to wear my hair that day, which looks better with the lighting that I'm in. You can look at natural lighting versus lights, or you can just that kind of stuff. So you kind of just get an idea. And it also reminds me of my backgrounds, which ones I like. I can look later and say, okay, I'm getting ready for a Zoom. It's noon. This was the best place in the house with the light, with the windows and outside lighting, or this is too busy. So you can see the first one on the left, I've got a very busy background. And so I'm wearing just solid black. Let's see, the ones on the bottom, it's a darker background. It's a distance away versus something right behind me. So I've got more of a pattern on. And then the one on the right is a picture I took off of a Zoom that I wanted to display some of the art that I was doing. So that's my artwork in the background. So background's going to be based again on what you want. Maybe it could be representing something. Maybe it could just be a color, but really think about what you want to represent. Next slide. So again, we're back to you because it is all about you. Making sure that you're sitting in the chair that you've got, that it's comfortable. I'm actually got a chair today because I'm in a back bedroom. Because the kids are around and everybody's home today. So I pulled the dining room chair. It's a little bit hard, to be on for more than 2 hours. So I can consider doing a cushion, but you want to make sure that you're sitting straight up, because if you're really slouched back or you're moving forward, you're going to start to get back pain. You're going to start to get, again, the Zoom fatigue is serious when you're on a lot of Zoom meetings. So you want to make sure that you're ergonomic, that you are comfortable, your back's comfortable, your bottom's comfortable, your feet are on the ground. A lot of us have, even before, COVID, working in an office, sitting in a chair all day, you've got a lot of back issues, a lot of sciatica, a lot of shoulder issues, a lot, all these things. So now's the opportunity for you to really control your environment and make your sitting experience, more healthy, more healing versus sitting in a chair and being hunched over and stressed out. So it's really a matter of de-stressing your life and, your work life, because that's where we're on Zoom. And then the next thing is camera eye level. So I'm going to show you some images next. We're just going to read through this now, but making sure your camera, this camera on my phone right there, is eye level. It's right straight in my eyes versus looking down or looking up. And if you take pictures of yourself with, like I said, your camera or the photo booth, you'll see the difference between those two. So again, it's presenting your best self so that you're comfortable with yourself. Doesn't matter what really other people think, but you want to be comfortable with how you look. And then stretching. So preparing yourself prior to the meeting, stretching, or in the middle of your meeting, doing stretchings, right? You can do simple things like lifting your legs, stretching your feet. So if I want everybody to try this, your feet are flat on the floor. So lift your heel up so you're on your tiptoe, just the right leg, and then put it down, and the left leg, and put it down. So simple stretches like that are really going to help your body so that it doesn't cramp up, so you don't have other issues later. Even just simple stretches, right? We do a back stretch like this, Back stretch like that, and hold it. Don't just really quick, like just that little simple stretch right there. I felt my back pop. So think about what works for you. If you're typing a lot, little hand stretches, right? Finger stretches. You can do whatever works for you, but experiment and see what's the best thing for you. If you're on a meeting, you want to turn off your screen and stretch if you're going to have, your hands out, or you can do it on the side. A real easy one that I do is just turning the wrists around or turning the feet around. Can you hear that? I'm all crackly today. Right? You can do this down. So I'm listening to somebody talk on the Zoom, and I'm stretching my hands. I'm stretching them. I'm circling them. I'm, stretching them however, but doing it down below. So I want everybody to practice something, whatever works for you. You can make it up. Even just putting your arms down by your side and extending your wrist backwards like this is going to be a good stretch. And forward, so it's going to be back and forward. A lot of people get carpal tunnel. Totally preventable. Stretching, having your table, your desk ergonomic, all those things are really preventable. So think about that. If you're going to take a mini break, if you're on a long session, again, make sure you're muted, turn your audio off, and get out 1 minute, 2 minutes of just jumping up and down, stretching, bathroom, whatever it is you need to do. Take care of yourself, but make sure that you're comfortable, even just shaking up. I can do most things without you knowing what I'm doing, right? So think about that. What works for you? One of the things too is because we're sitting and you haven't even left the house. So a lot of things that we would normally do on a regular work day going to work, we're not doing. And that's even just movement, walking to your car, walking to the office, walking upstairs. We're not doing that. So the physical movement of your body is really, really important. So one little thing that when I'm really having a hard time, I'll step off and I will do a cupping. So it's just cupping the arm. So this gets the oxygen and the blood circulating through your body. So it's real easy. It's really loud. So definitely turn off your audio. And you can do it up and down your whole body, down your legs, and it really kind of invigorates. It gets the oxygen and blood flowing through your body, which means it's flowing through your brain, so that you're able to, not fall asleep, not zone out. It just kind of gets a little bit tingly. Okay, great. Next slide. So backgrounds, again, colors that complement you. When you have a wall, you don't want to be like, if I scoot my camera up a little bit, there's a big picture. So this is not a shot that I want to do because I've got this line above my head. So really, it's kind of a gentle, there you go. So making sure you don't have anything sticking out behind you. Windows are going to be bad for lighting, but you've also got the window frame you don't want. We talked about the green screens. And then the lighting I have, so I've got a light that's right in front of me, right, off to the side of my computer. So you can see the difference lighting. If I scoot over and I don't have that light anymore, you see how dark my face is? So no lighting. So having that one little light, and I just have a lamp I pulled out of one of the bedrooms, my nephew's bedroom. I take off the lamp shade, so you've got way more light coming onto your face. Okay, next slide. And I believe this is a sample of exactly what not to do with the backgrounds. So this is one of my friends, and he's hosting a webinar, and he's got a background. So you can see the first image on the left, he's in the dark, no light in the room. And then you see that the next image, he's got light on his face. But then if we look at his background, it's a beautiful picture that he has in the background, but it's in a bad spot. He's got a spear coming out of his neck. Again, really distracting to me. So think about those things. Even in my image here, I've got some shadow behind me because I'm so close to the wall. But I've got so many things out on the outside of this little frame that I don't want in the picture. I had to think about, do I want a shadow or do I want, Legos and a door on the right side of me? So thinking about those things. Next slide. So again, lighting, look at your natural light. If you have natural light, you want it in front of you, not behind you. Good, I thought I lost you. Have windows open if you need them, up and down. This is the part of preparing an hour ahead of time and thinking about where your light's moving, because you know the sun's going to move, your light's going to change, and we saw that girl earlier with the lines through her face. So you could also put a backlight behind you, and that will stop any shadows that you have behind you if you want. Again, a lot of this is if you're presenting, you may not have to be so, so detailed if you're just on a call or you're not going to show your picture. But if you're presenting, you definitely want to think about these things. And then your best angle, if you have a best angle, or lighting. So I kind of like, it just kind of works out there. I've got a lamp on one side and natural lighting on the other. And actually the light was too bright on this side. So I have my nephew's cardboard box that he was playing with. I got this big box blocking the window light there. So I'm really using, and you'll see this crazy stuff that I use to set up, but that's really important. And even thinking about what side your hair is going to be on, parting your hair on one side versus the other. If you have, some people say, oh, I've got a better side and you're not a better side. So thinking about that. We talked about the glasses, and then outside, I highly recommend not outside because the sun changes, the weather changes, and you're going to have a lot of shadows and noise and shade and all these things. Next slide. So here's some images with the same background, different day, I think, but I was using this background often. So there's one, the left side without light and the right side is with light on my face. So that kind of shows you exactly. And then again, you've got the glasses and the glare. Next slide. And so this is a space. The first slide on the left is how I've got set up to get me eye level. I've got my nephew's table. I've got underneath it is a Yurok stool made out of, I think it's redwood, a carved stool. And then I've got the chair to go to the table on top of that and my camera on top of that so that I'm level. And then I've got my light. You see the light in the corner, and I've got it up off the ground. So it's more on my face, straight on my face versus from the bottom up on my face. In the middle is looking at my background. So you can see what I'm working with, right? And then the end is the final product. So I'm straight. It's a very busy background. I've got a dark top on with some jewelry on. Really important. I also like to wear big earrings when I'm online. So just because it distracts a lot, I think so. If I don't want to be looked at, if I'm not feeling well, but they're also pretty. And when you don't get to go out. So when do you get to, and there's my phone. When do you get to work on, or get dressed up again? So I'm going to get dressed up on a Zoom call. Next slide. So this is the space that I'm at right now, how this looks. You can see I've got a door on one side and a window on the other, and it's really busy going on. And coming in with the light, there's my shot. And there's the lady in the background, but I've got a dark top on. Okay, next slide. So this is outside. On the left is the setup. It's a beautiful view outside, right? But I'm either going to be in the sun and high shadows and my eyes really squinted because I can't see, or I'm going to be in the dark. Next slide. There is a way to do outside. And so this is up against the house. It's not as shaded, the contrast isn't as strong, but really, really possible. And the colors are brighter, right? The chair, the sofa behind me, the wall behind me, very plain, but very nicely shaded and a good balance. Next slide. So framing also too, very important, having that boxed in. So I'm looking at you through a laptop computer, but your camera is going to be a lot different. It's going to be more narrower. So in the camera view, it's about this long, and it's going to be taller for me, right? So you're going to see more of my my body and more of my head. So depending on where you're at, how you're going to frame yourself. Again, favorite clothes, dress rehearsal. So I may try 2 or 3 outfits and even change my background based on my outfit. And then looking at your face again, how close do you want your camera? I'm about arm's length away from the camera. Okay. If my background's too busy or something, I want to come in, I'm going to come closer to the camera. It just depends on what you want to do. Next slide. And so again, looking at after we talked about their backgrounds, I want to show you the backgrounds again. Yep, we're good right there. So one is in an art room. Another one is in front of, in the middle one, that's a piano behind me. The other one, I'm in a big space. And the other one, I'm in the kitchen. How do I figure that? Well, as long as it's way far in the background and it's not the focus of the image, then I think you're okay. Next slide. And this is the dining room. So a whole nother setup there. I've got trying to get, again, the dining room table, trying to get up higher is, what did I have? Well, all I had was a laundry basket that was high enough. So that's what I'm working on right there, is the laundry basket. And then the middle slide, you can see the background, how it looks, from a distance, well lit. And I have the fireplace behind me because I was shooting for the background being the bricks, to really take up more of the space. And then there I am. Hold on, there we go. As the actual shot. Okay, next slide. This is another part of the dining room table with some art in the background. It also has a door outside, and there's some beautiful plants, and then there I am. So again, it could be in the kitchen if that's your best spot, but it doesn't have to be in one spot. You can try every spot in the kitchen table that has the best background. Next slide. Okay, so let me go. Can you go back a little bit? Go back one slide. Good. I was going through this because I didn't want to be too late. One of the things I want to say, and in the beginning, I showed a bunch of other people, and one lady had her son photobombing her. Well, her back was faced towards her house, the kitchen, the part of the house, versus facing the wall. So I would highly suggest facing the back wall so that, again, nobody's worried about. I've been at houses where they're at the kitchen table and they're facing the wall, the computer. And so I don't want to interfere and walk back to get water or food or anything, or babies or anything like that. So if you have your back to the wall, there's going to be less distraction for anybody else in the house, less distraction for you, hopefully. And your lighting is going to be better because you can manipulate your lighting better versus if you're taking lighting from several lights in the room, right? That light that I have on the corner is going to definitely light my face and not the whole rest of the house. So are there any questions? That was a lot, and we went pretty quickly.